Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Saturday. Okay, guys, take a look at what we have. Okra, canning salt, little spices, herbs. And what? Are we canning today? We're going to try our hands at canning okra. I'm so thankful that we've been blessed with the bountiful of okra, and what better way to store them than to can. Come along with me as we give it a try. Okay, for the sake of time, I already got us started here. So here is equal parts water and distilled vinegar. And you do want to make sure that you use the distilled vinegar that's at least 5% acidity. And then also, you never want to can with cold jars. So we are getting and sterilizing our jars and our lids, getting those all prepared. We have our stock pot. And no, I didn't buy any fancy equipment. I'm using my crab pot, just something deep enough to put my pint jars with 2 inches above the rim. So I'm just going to use, like I said, my crab pot, and we're going to get started. Looks like our jars have heated up, so we want to carefully with some tongs get that water out and get it prepared to stuff. We're gonna stuff those with our fresh okra, and you do want to use fresh okra. You don't want to use frozen. This is okra that I did pick this morning, but I don't know how many plants you have out there, but I don't quite have enough to get them all in one day. So this is like 3 days worth of harvest. It took me a little time. So, but what I am going to do, I have my jars. They're hot. They're ready to go, because you never want to put fresh okra or anything canning into cold jars into hot water. It could actually cause a mess. So in our big crab pot, I do have a little trivet down there, but no worries if that's not something that you have, because you never want to put the jars directly on the base of your pot. You can always just line some tops at the bottom, just anything, or even a towel, anything that would prevent your jars from being directly in contact with the base of the pot. And you guys, this is actually the trivet that came with my pressure cooker. So, hey, multitasking, multi uses. I feel like I'm getting my money's worth. So, like I said, you just don't want the jars being in close contact with the base of your jar. So as we're loading up this okra, we're going to go ahead and let this big pot heat up so it can be ready to go. Okay, so our okra, I kind of wanted some that are only about 4 inches long. So some of the real long ones I had to disregard for canning, but of course we can still cook and eat them. But for canning purposes, so they can still fit. As you know, when you pick okra, there's a stem on there. We did trim that stem back, but you do not want to go past that rim. Otherwise, you'll have a slimy mess. So you just barely want to just nib off that little nub that's on there, but still keep it intact. And I couldn't stress enough to wash again your okra, because nothing worse than pickling some okra and you got some extra debris in there that you didn't want. So let's get started. As you can see, I'm just loading my okra in there, and we do want this extremely, extremely tight, because even when you add that hot liquid, it will shrink. I will tell you what I actually have. I have some jalapenos, because we like it hot, sliced to go in there. Also, I have some garlic cloves, because who doesn't like garlic? I have some rosemary fresh from the garden, some coriander seeds, which if you didn't know is actually cilantro, but this is the seeds, and I have some fresh dill from the garden as well. I will also be using, I don't know if you guys seen this, the pickling crisp, which is good to use anytime you're pickling green beans, okra, cucumbers. It gives it that little crunch that we still want, so it doesn't quite mush out on us. So I did go ahead and invest $5 to get this, because I still want my okra to still have a little bite to it. Okay. All right, well, let's go ahead and load them up and we'll be ready to get it started. Okay, our okra is fully loaded. I was hoping to get 3 jars. So we'll try to get that one next week. So that means because I did enough brine for 3 pints, we'll have some leftover brine. But I'll show you what to do with that as well. So we do want to add some cloves of garlic. We want to push that in there. I usually put 3. I'm going to put 3 because I just love garlic. I just love it. Okay. I'm going to squeeze all that in there. We definitely want to kick up the heat, and why not? So I am going to put some jalapenos. If you have some red and green, I think it just makes aesthetically it very pleasing. So I like to add a little bit of both. So we just put a little and try to squeeze that in there. Okay. So these are going to be some hot okra. So eat these at your own risk, right? Put one more. But it is a good way to use up some of the herbs and spices that you have in your garden. And then we're going to finish it off with a good sprig of fresh rosemary. I just love the smell of this, you know. And if anybody is growing rosemary, you know that you have an abundance of it. So anywhere you can use it is definitely a plus. So we want to get that in there, okay? Like so. All right, you guys. So now I'm going to add some coriander and some dill, and I'm just going to sprinkle that right over the top. Okay, so we got our dill, our rosemary, our coriander, and as I noted, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit, just a little bit of the crisp. You want to just add that directly to your jar. Now we're ready to load it up for our liquid. So we're going to go ahead and load it up. Make sure you have your utensils. This is your space, your jar spacer. So we want to make sure that we have a 1-inch space all the way around, That means liquid and okra needs to clear that head space, okay? So let's go ahead and fill it up to the 1 inch, okay? Okay, looks like we have it. Let's see how we doing. So we want to check that head space again. Right here. So it looks as though we can come up just a little bit more on this one and this one. So we're going to add just a little bit more of the brine. I took a class on this a couple weeks ago because I wanted to make sure I was doing it right. You know, you can see things on YouTube or, you know, you can ask ChatGPT, but you definitely want to make sure that you're doing it right. And they do it based on the ball preservation because it's been tested to make sure that it's safe, right? Okay, so let's check the spacing again. Oh, man, that's perfect. You see what I'm saying? As long as the liquid clears that, okay, the head space is perfect. But before we shut her down, we want to clear and go all the way down. Make sure there's no air bubbles. Now, once you clear those air bubbles, you may find that if you had more okra or something that you had room to get them in there. I like to use either maybe a straw or maybe not a knife though, because we definitely with okra don't want to puncture the okra. So you're going to see a few pop up and we'll get her back in there, right? I'm going to try to get her back in there. They will try to pop up on you, but that's why you try to get it as tight as you can. But you know, there we go. There we go. All right, so it looks like we're good, right? Want to make sure that because we did use our funnel, so the rims should be pretty well wiped and clean, but you want to make sure you get a good seal, so you don't want anything on there. And a lot of times when you're working with some more sweet or savory things, it could cause some stickiness to be on the rim. So we do want to make sure we get that all up and cleaned up. So you might want to dip this in some vinegar and kind of wipe it off. But in our case, we're just using vinegar and water, so we are fine. But we're going to come over here and get those hot lids. And you want the lids hot too. You want the lids hot too. So we're going to go ahead and get that out. Everything is hot. Everything is sterile. And that's why it's great to use this utensil that they give you in most of the kits. All right. Want to lift that lid. We were able to get both of them. Okay. And we're going to seal the lids on the top. Okay. Remember, these are hot. We want to seal the lid, right? Okay. Then we want to come over. And you just want to do finger tight close, not sealing it down, because remember, the water is what's going to cause it to seal. So we just want it finger tight, okay? And we're then going to lower it down into our water bath, which looks like it's at a great rolling speed right now. I was telling you about taking that class. It was so educational. When you do put those seals on, or the lids, not necessarily that lid is only a one-time use. So once you've used it to can, you can, of course, continue to use the jars. You can continue to use the screw-on caps. But the actual top itself is a one-time, because once that seal has been broken, it is no longer useful for canning, but you of course can use it for storage. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and lift this into our pot, and this is for my girlfriend who went with me. No shaking. You just want to lower it in to the water bath, right? And you definitely want to make sure that there is 1 inch over the jars. Okay, now if for whatever reason it doesn't completely go over the jars enough, just use the water that you sterilized your lids with, because it's still hot. It's almost up to temp, so it's the perfect one to kind of use, because we do want at least 2 inches over the jars, okay? And not until the water comes to a boil do you start timing it. So once it comes to a boil, for me, okra, I'm going to go for 10 minutes, right? See, it's already ready to go. And the good thing is, because we were doing it as we were loading them, it makes the water go a lot faster. So now we're just waiting on the water to come to a boil. Then we're going to put a lid on it and let it go for 10 minutes. All right, you guys. Okay, so we removed it because our timer went off. I went for 12 minutes. The recipe calls for 15. I thought 10 would be great, but just to be safe, I just went straight in the middle and went for 12. And as you can see, it is bubbling, it's hot in there. So now you just kind of let it sit. So we're gonna let it sit for a little bit. We're waiting on that dreaded pop. That's the pop we're waiting. So as you can see how the lid right now is protruding up, we want to hear that pop, and it would be awesome if we could hear it while I'm videoing, but it will eventually pop, which means that it is sealed. So we are waiting for that. And if for whatever reason you don't see that it's sealed and you double check, you want to go ahead and put it back in the water. So I will keep my water rolling just in case we need to put it back in. And also, I will tell you, in the class, even if it does pop, you want to double check that it wasn't a false seal. So what that means is taking this ring off and picking it up just with the lid itself. Okay, so it should be really adhered to the jar, so it shouldn't come out. So I was trying to prolong this conversation, and hopefully we could get a little pop action. Let's see. Because sometimes it can take anywhere from 3 to 10 minutes for that pop to actually happen, but that is sealing that jar properly for storage. So now I will tell you, okra is very thick, and with okra being so thick, this is not something you would eat tomorrow. So this is something you may eat in 4 weeks for the most flavorful pickled okra that you can have. Now, something like cucumbers or pickles that we would slice in half, you know, the spices and herbs may penetrate into that a lot faster. But okra itself, it will take a little time. So we would put the date on here, wait about 4 weeks, and I'm telling you. So this is shelf stable. So this is something you can keep in your cupboard or your pantry. It doesn't need to be in the refrigerator. That is the reason for the canning process. And it is good for up to a year in your cabinet. So this is a good way to store some of your excess produce, right? But once we open it, we do want to put it back in the refrigerator with the lid and the ring, and probably eat it or consume it within 2 weeks. So we are waiting on that pop, and I was hoping it was going to happen while we were here. So let's wait. I stepped outside for a second, but I do recall this looks like it's been sealed. So this is where I was saying make sure that it's actually sealed by taking the ring off, picking it up. Well, it's still kind of hot, but pulling on the lid itself, and as you can see, it's not coming off. So our first one down. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. You know, we travel to Louisiana quite a bit, and we pick up pickled okra to bring back home. And at $6 and $7 a jar, this is such a treat to be able to do it myself, and also to just experiment with different flavors, you know, because now you can do it more to your liking. But I will say the ones in Louisiana are delicious, so I can't wait for 4 to 5 weeks to see how this one turns out. But then if it's not to your liking, you can switch it up the next time. Also, with that extra brine, we didn't throw that away. What we did is we just put that in another jar, packed it away in the refrigerator. So when you're ready to do this again, I think I have enough for 2 more jars, which is perfect because now we're ready to go quickly as we harvest. So I think we're just waiting on this last one. Oh, she may have popped too. So we'll double check, and that doesn't say 12/8. It is 8/21. So okay. So we will see, and what we will do is just leave this on the counter for 48 hours. And then after that, it's just ready to cool and be left in the cabinet. I'm so glad you guys came along with me on this new adventure of canning and preserving some of the things from my garden. I'm sure this is going to be some Christmas gifts along the way. I'm going to be canning everything. So till next time, happy gardening. Bye-bye.